Thank you, Troy. Thank you, everybody, for joining us one more time. I'd like to thank Sandy Hoffer and Drew Castling as well, because I've been working with them since 20 years ago as a consultant. It has been a very interesting and happy journey. And today, as Troy has already told you before, we are going to talk about closed remaining spaces from extraction. And it is the third webinar. We started with assessed biomechanics and non-extraction treatment in class 2 malocclusion. It was in May. After that, we talk about treatment in adults, patient in class 2 malocclusion, a little bit about extraction. And today we are going to the last part. We are going to talk about closing remaining spaces from extractions. I'm going straight to the subject because it's supposed to be about 45 minutes. Just before starting, I would like to share with you a paper that was written in a Dental Press magazine. It's a magazine, orthodontics magazine in Brazil. And a friend of mine, Marcio Rodrigues Almeida, that was written, that wrote this article with Dr. Ravindrananda. Dr. Ravindrananda is one of the most important orthodontists in the whole world. And they wrote an article talking about smart arch wires, about mushrooms loop, and about intrusion arch wire by night eye arch wire with a reverse curve. I found this article very interesting because take a look at the reverse night eye arch wire. They tend to insert here to flatten the speak curve, but take a look at the canine bracket. It's impossible to insert this arch wire in the slot, the canine brackets, the slots. It's totally impossible and doesn't work. Okay, let me move this to clinical cases. And here you can see a specific arch wire for laterals intrusion, and they made a bend in the molar area, like our Anchorage bend. And here, take a look at the canine area. There is a cut. They cut it, the arch wire, both canine, to avoid the undesirable effect that the canine brackets causes. And this with a conventional straight wire. Another, here they are talking about the canine undesirable effect. Sorry. Take a look at the canine. They made a Z bend in the arch wire just to avoiding the movement, the incisors movement. And here, with this bend, the canine cannot move distally with this bend. It's impossible. Take a look at this case. And the arch wire is cutted in this part. They are trying to pull, they are pulling the canine. And when the canine arrive in its position, you can see the canine slot is in a vertical position. And inverted curve here appeared. Okay, all the problems appeared again. There's another, all the arch wires, they make a bend in the posterior part. Here, avoiding the canine brackets as well. The same specific arch wire to intrude the incisors. You can see here in the lower arch, here as the same thing, canine is cutted because the canine, there is no arch wire passing this canine. take a look at very strong deep bite. So they have to avoid the canine. They pull the canine first. Canine's problem always is the canine. The problem is in the canine. In the lower arch, happened the same. You can see in the lower arch, the incisors, and they are intruding the incisor. One more time, the canine, the artery is cut in the front of the canine, cut it in the front of the canine. Another, take a look at the step between the incisors and the canine border. Same problem. And here, let me see, I remember another case. This way. The canine is a mushroom arch wire and cut it in front of the canine. Again, in the lower incisor, you cannot see any arch wire passing throughout them. Only the braces are bonded without any arch wire passing on it. Okay, it's enough. Okay, let's start. So we could see here how difficult it is to work with retraction, with anterior teeth movement, with the conventional arch wire brackets. Okay, it's very difficult. So for me, I love this phrase. Simplicity is the ultimate degree of sophistication, Leonardo da Vinci. It means that I called simplified straight wire because just changing the canine brackets, we could solve lots of problems, we could avoid lots of problems. And the way of working with a straight wire became very easy. Okay. So the first webinar, we talk about how important is the canine brackets. We talk about our special prescription of brackets. We use straight wire brackets in all teeth, and on canine we use tip-head brackets. That it is nothing but straight wire brackets without those parts. In this way, this shape permits the canine movement distal. It's very easy indeed. And the anterior teeth with straight wire brackets, we still have lots of freedom, especially because the original wire, the premier arch wire, this arch wire is made in TP orthodontics. In my mind, it's impossible to talk or to do our technique without this arch wire and without the tip-head brackets on canine. If you are thinking about trying the SSW technique, it's a sine qua non condition to put the tip-head brackets on canine and original wires, Premier Plus, working with original wires to have lots of freedom in anterior teeth as well. And in addition, if you get all the prescription, the SSW prescription, you are going to have the narrow brackets on the anterior teeth, are going to have vertical slot in all teeth. It doesn't matter if the brace is canine, tip-head brackets canine, or straight wire brackets, all brackets or braces, the SSW prescription have vertical slots. So if you are thinking about open the bite, I'm going to make a very fast reviewing because there are some colleagues, orthodontists that are attending, they couldn't see the other webinars, but I'm going to be very fast, okay? So if we put here an arch wire with a speed curve and aiming to intrude the anterior teeth, it is possible to achieve the cervical part of the incisors because of the tibial brackets, okay? But pay attention, if you make only this, when we move this anterior part of this TP and this SP curve arch wire and move it from there to the incisor slots, this arch wire is going to move the anterior teeth this way. For me, this is not intrusion. It is intrusion and protrusion at the same time. On the other hand, if we think about moving the anterior teeth, wearing class 2 elastics, and you insert a flattened arch wire, just an arch wire flattened, and you insert here and wear a long class 2 elastics, the anterior teeth is going to move backwards, but down at the same time. And this undesirable effect will appear, okay? So, on the other hand, if we make, if we use Premier Plus arch wire, O16, very thin arch wire and very strong arch wire, we will have lots of freedom. And we make an anchorage band in the posterior part, in the front of the molar, and we wear 2.5 ounces of class 2 elastics. And one super important thing, and if we are using an oval tube, insert the O16 arch wire in the oval tube, think about this. O36 is too big, and then we insert a O16 arch wire. We have lots of freedom in the posterior part. For me, this is so important. And this, if you are interested in ordering this tube, you have to order TP Orthodontics, the TP tube. This tube I got from TP Technique, okay? So this is a double tube. I'm talking about the tube that is put in the cervical part. In the occlusal part is a rectangular one, 21 by 28, okay? So there is a relationship between class 2 elastics and anchorage band. What kind of relationship it is? Because I'm talking about force. The rule is you have to make an anchorage band, and the arch wire must rest to the deepest part of the vestibule, just resting, not forcing, okay? And at the same time, you insert long class 2 elastics with 2.5 ounces. But if you made that and put the class 2 elastics and the arch wire is stopped in this position, probably the anchorage band is too weak, or the class 2 elastics is too weak. No, sorry, the anchorage band is too strong. On the other hand, if you insert the arch wire and this arch wire moves from the deepest part of the vestibule to here, below the lower incisors braces, the elastics is too strong or the anchorage band is too light or too weak, okay? So the ideal is this situation. The anterior part of the arch wire gets the same level of the brackets slots. This way we are talking about proportional forces. I'm talking about proportional forces from elastics to arch wire. So the rule is Premier Plus with an arch wire with an anchorage band in the molar, in the front of the molar, resting to the deepest part of the vestibule, and 2.5 ounces. Probably the arch wire is gonna be in the same level of the anterior teeth braces. Okay, so when we move from there to here, we make a vector, vertical vector of force, The class 2 elastic is making a horizontal vector force, and then we have a resultant here. And if this resultant here is passing throughout the CR point, then incisor is going to be moved backwards and intruded at the same time, and we will make this movement, okay? But as we are using tip-head brackets on canines, the canine can be with its root this way, and then we have to upright the canine's root. So for uprighting the canine root, we use sidewinder springs, and we insert the sidewinder springs into the vertical slot. When we move the leg that is near the incisal face of the canine and move to the arch wire, the opposite leg moves the opposite way, okay? So we have made this movement, and the root is going to be moved along with the sidewinder spring, and we will achieve this equation. I'm talking very fast about this because we have already talked about this in the other webinar, okay? I'm making just a recording. So the second webinar, we talk about the molar position. When we move, make the distalization of the molar's position, the chin moves down and back. When we move the molars forward, that this movement we are going to talk today, the molar forward, the chin is going to be moved up and forward, okay? We made this movement the natural movement for the mandible. So, but when we think about moving the molar forward, when we make an extraction, aiming to achieve a lip seal, a chin movement forward and up, just before starting moving the molar forward, it's a rule we have to solve the anterior problem, okay? We are talking about class 2 malocclusion, or even class 1 malocclusion with alignment and leveling, and with a crowding, sorry. We have just to solve the anterior teeth problems before. Take a look at this girl's anterior teeth. We have a scissor here, and we have first intrude the upper incisors, upright the lower one, achieve class 1 relationship. After making this, we start moving the molar, the posterior pillar of the mouth, that is the molars forward. This way, the chin is going to be moved along with the molars. Okay? And the lips will be touching. So, let's start talking about closely remaining spaces from extractions. So, we think about moving the molars forward, okay? Let's think about the molars movement. We've put here horizontal elastics, E-link, for example, from TP orthodontics, because I don't know any other horizontal elastics. I've been working with this elastics since 20 years, and in Taubaté University, we've made a paper comparing the E-link with other elastics. E-link is the best, far away from the best. Anyway, we've put a E-link here, and the molar tends to move, but when we make a force, the molar start moving. If we have a freedom inside the tube, and the molar start moving and stop moving when the molar start touching 2 points inside the tube here and block the molar movement. So from these parts on, there is no way of moving the molars because the molar is going to be blocked, okay? So it means that it is a moment of force, a clockwise moment of force. It tends to make a clockwise moment of force. But if we make a bend, a very light bend here with about 10 degrees, when we move the arch wire, the anterior part of the arch wire, insert this anterior part of the arch wire in the lower incisors brackets, the posterior part will tend to move the opposite way, okay? And when the posterior part moves the opposite way, we will make two points of force here. And this forces is nothing but an opposite moment of force than the molar's tendency. I mean, it's a counterclockwise moment of force. So this both opposite moments of force will cancel each other, and the molar is going to be moved forward and up, but uprighted, without moving, without inclining, like this movement. Okay, take a look at that. There is a kind of ramp, but I'm talking about a very soft, very light ramp, not so strong. This way the molar can be moved. And we are talking about with a freedom inside the tube of the molar. But take a look at this bend, this light bend. It's far from the molar and near the premolar. This is very, very important, super important, because if we make this bend near the molar, not far from the premolar, the molar movement is going to be this one, okay? The molar will not be moved forward. The molar is going to be uprighted. And if you make this bend more nearest the molar tube, the light molar tube, the molar is going to be moved back, okay, and its roots is going to be moved forward. So this is very important. Everything okay? Any doubts? Perfect. We're going to keep talking. Now we are going to talk about the ideal forces for each tooth. If we put an E-link between molar and upper incisors, the extreme of the link, the forces in both extremes are going to be the same. If we make a 3 ounces of force, we have 3 ounces in the incisors and 3 ounces on the molars. Okay, we have always to remember about that. So if you want to move teeth, we have to think about low friction. We have to think about spaces, freedom inside the slot and inside the tube. Okay, so we are talking about round arch wires. So if we make a force here, let's talk about 4 or 2 or 5 ounces of forces. In the incisors, we talk about 2 or 2.5 ounces. It means the half. The incisors needs the half force of the molars need. So we put 2.5 ounces here. The incise is going to be good for incisors, and not enough for the molar movement forward. The opposite, we put here a 4 or 5 ounces of forces here, is going to be good for the molar, but it's going to be not so interesting for the incisors, because the incisors is going to make this movement. They will fall for the lingual face in this situation. It's very common. Okay, so let's change the way of working. But let's put a full-size arch wire in the incisors. I'm talking about 19 by 25 or 25, 21 by 25, okay? But 19 by 25 is enough. You don't need more than that. And from the distal part, the arch wire part near the premolar, if you make put a rectangular arch wire here, 2.5 ounces is not enough, because now we have lots of friction in the anterior teeth. But if we rounded the posterior part, we are going to offer freedom for the molars. And we make the same 10 degrees of bend here. And if we start using or putting 2.5 ounces of force, it's not enough for the molars. Remember, the molars needs 5 or 4. But with lots of freedom in the anterior, lots of frictions in the anterior teeth, 2.5 ounces is not enough for the lower incisors as well. So if we put 4.5 ounces, 4 or 5 ounces in forces, is still not enough for the anterior teeth, but is very good for moving molar forward. Okay? So this way the molar is going to be moved forward very good way. But in addition, we are going to improve the anchorage, the anterior teeth anchorage, wearing a short class 2 elastics. Let's see here. So you can see in this scheme, 0.21 by 0.25 is stainless rounded in the posterior part arch wire, and horizontal links with 4 ounces each one, the upper and the lower arch. In the upper arch, you are going to see that we did not make a bend, but we make a curve, a speed curve in the upper arch. This way, the molar is going to be moved straightened and without tipping. And light bend near the premolar, be far from the molar. Okay, this is very important. And this is the best short class 2 elastics, 316 medium. What does it mean? It means that when we insert this class 2 elastics from the hook to the premolar is going to be pulled up and forward. And we have a force against the anterior teeth movement down, okay? So this short class 2 elastic, we are going to see an example in the typodont, and we see how important it is, this short class 2 elastics. This way, and at the same time, if you are using tip-head brackets on canines, you have to put the sidewinder springs to upright the canine's root and maintaining the canine's crown in its position. So take a look at the molar. Take a look at closer the molar. The molar will be moved forward and up, not down. Always straightened, never tipped. This, because this is more important. Lots of people think about moving the molar forward, put something here, and the molar moves, but this is forward, okay? So, like this movement. Perfect. Okay, and this is an example. This is a typodont that I put inside the aquarium, and I made a time lapse in my mobile phone, and you can see here that I put Anchorage band near the premolar, and the molar made the movement forward in a very easy way. Okay, take a look at the molar again. The molar moved forward and up. Now, so important as the molar movement is maintaining the premolar in each position. And if you look at closer here, the arch wire is rounded. It's not rectangular arch wire. Anterior teeth are self-regating brackets, lots of freedom. But the short class 2 elastics is going to be keeping the premolar. Take a look at the premolar movement. At the end, the premolar is embraced, allotted. And anterior teeth are very embraced while the molar is moving forward. So this is a way of moving, very interesting, but you have to pay attention to round the posterior part of the arch wire, but just make a very soft slide. When you insert the posterior part already rounded in the molar tube, you have to move the arch wire a little bit up and make this movement, trying if the arch wire is sliding throughout the tube. Okay, if the arch wire is not sliding, you have to make around a little bit more, or pat something to bright the arch wire. Okay, so on the other hand, if we have the anchorage band very near the molar will not be moving forward. Take a look at this example now. We don't have the short class 2 elastics. We have the anterior teeth at rounded arch wire. We have freedom in the anterior teeth, and the molar, we have freedom as well. But take a look at the molar. Molar keeping the same place. Let's take a look at now at the anterior teeth movement. Take a look at the incisors. Is being moved lingually, okay? But another interesting thing, if you take a look at the second molar, and at the same time you have to take a look at the anchorage band position. When the anchorage band achieves the molar tube light, the second molar start moving in a buccal phase. Take a look at here. Now the second molar start moving in a buccal phase. So you have to pay attention. When you active the E-links, 2 months later, we are going to talk about this. We have to wait at least 6 weeks, but think about 2 months later, when we are going to reactivate the E-links, we have first to look at the molar band and look at the molar band and move the molar band a little bit far from the molar, because the molar band start moving in molar light direction. Okay, we have to change the molar band position. And at the same time, if we wear here a class 2 elastic, long class 2 elastics, the anterior teeth is going to be moved along with the lower one. So this is the way of working with the biprotrusion. In biprotrusion, and the opposite, we make the anchorage band far from near the molar and far from the premolar, And at the same time, we wear long class 2 elastics. This way, the anterior teeth is going to be moved backwards. Let's take a look at this case here. We are promoting alignment and leveling. Here we have a speak curve in the upper arch and long class 2 elastics. After achieving class 1 relationship, we start moving the lower molar. And if you look at closer here, the anchorage band is too near the molar. This anchorage band should be a little bit far from the molar and near the premolar, here, not here, but here. Take a look at the ramp is too strong, super strong. And now we have a ramp very light. The molar can be moved straightened without making this movement, okay? So after that, we bond the second molars. And here we are adjusting this or embracing the second molars. And finally, we finished. You can see that the molar could be moved, both molars could be moving forward without any problem, without any tipping. So I'm going to show you now a clinical case. This boy, 8 years old boy, I had a doubt in the time because he had a good, not so bad profile. We thought about not promoting extractions, but we have a crowding very strong. Take a look at the Canine. I'm talking about the 33. And we have overjet. And if I look at closer, he didn't have lip seal. And the lower facial height was increased. So for solving this class 2, even being a not so strong class 2, but we have to distalize molar. And if we distalize this molar, the scissor is going to be moved this way, and the chin is going to be moved as along with the molars, and the lip seal is going to be worse for sure. So, and she is his mom. She was my patient in the past. When I look at this boy, I remember his mom's face, and I thought it's a factor of my decision of making extraction. So I opted for making extractions. The first premolars in the upper arch, second premolars in the lower arch. Take a look at the very first day. We have here Unitau arch wire, and at the same time 016 arch wire Premier Plus original wire, because in this very first moment we are promoting alignment, leveling, we are promoting retraction, the anterior teeth, and open the bite at the same time. It means a very fast treatment and very easy, without wearing any anchorage band, or sorry, any palatal bars or mini implants or anyway. So as I told you before, we have to first, before moving the molars forward, we have to solve the anterior problem. So now it's 1 month later, we still are using 016 original wire Premier Plus and the 014 Unitau arch wire at the same time in both parts. But here you can see that the incisors move it while we are promoting alignment and leveling. The incisors move it down, the canine move it. Take a look at the canine's root. It's tipped, very tipped, but the anterior part of the arch wire is not flattened, not deflattened. Here, uprighting the canine's root, 020 original wire Premier Plus, because we are thinking about in the next consult, we are going to insert here or to put here a 19 by 25 arch wire, rounded in the posterior part, start moving the molar forward. And we cannot change straight from 016 to a rectangular arch wire. We have to pass before the 19 by 25 with a 020. So here we have a 19 by 25 stainless steel arch wire with a short class 2 elastics, and we start achieving and moving the molar forward. Here we have a mistake. We should to insert 4 side widening springs on canines. Okay. So you can see here the molar's movement forward. The molar came uprighted, but the second molar erupted in a very bad position. Here, just comparing, because while the molar moves visually, this slide is very interesting for those guys that are TPH practitioners, because in the anterior teeth, we have straight wire. And the straight wire, you know that at the moment that we insert a rectangular arch wire in the incisor slot, we immediately start promoting torque, okay? So while the molar comes or moves forward, the incisor is going to be torqued at the same time, okay? Without wearing any sidewinder springs on the incisors. Anyway, so here, bonding the upper second molar tubes and rebonding the lower first, because at the end, we have to adjust and change some braces. And here we are rebonding the first molar tube just for setting the distal cuspid of the first molar, the upper first molar. You can see that you can see more cuspid, distal cuspid than the mesial cuspid. This way, the arch wire is going to insert it this way, and when we put in the opposite parts, the molar will be moving or tipped this way, okay? So you can see the molar position is very interesting now. Comparing before and after, let me see the time, 15 minutes. The boy's profile, here adjusting the profile and tragus PN point and the nasal point, pronasal point. We've talked about this before. And here, comparing the profiles, we can see the lower lip, the chin a little bit forward. And if we look at closer, the upper lip, it is in the same place. The lower lip moved forward and the chin moved about 1.5 millimeters forward, okay? And we achieved lip seal. Let's take a look at the lower facial height now is 1 by 1. And the upper incisor exposure is good. It means that the smile is gonna be nice. Okay. this is very important as well. If you are thinking about moving the molar forward, the molar start moving here, this way. And when you pull the molar for this side, the molar move forward and make this movement. Okay, make this movement. So after this, we have to start moving the molar for palatal view at the same time. Not at the same time, some weeks later, okay? So we move buccal and lingual, alternately, okay? Not at the same time. This is very important as well. So here you can see, look at the slide in your left side, look at the molar 26 position. When we moved, the molar at the end is corrected and much more stable. What about activation? We've talked about 4 to 5 ounces, but much more important than the forces is you have to waiting for about 6 weeks at least. It means what? Never do it before 6 weeks. So I think about do not commit this error. So take a look at the upper link and compare with the lower link. The lower one is brand new and the upper one is oldest than the lower one. It means that I use, for example, this boy went to my office and I activated the upper links in January, okay? And I wait in February, I'm going to activate the lower one. And we maintain the link that I put in January, we will maintain in the upper arch. And in March, only March, 2 months later, I'm going to change the upper link. This way, your molar is going to be moved uprighted without any root reabsorptions. It's a physiological treatment. You have to give the tooth time to move, to make reabsorption in a position, okay? So I think we don't have enough time to show this clinical case because this is a girl that's very long case, lots of slides, but the opposite, this kind of profile, I'm going to pass very fast, okay? This kind of profile, we need to move the molar forward, but we need to move the incisors backwards as well, because we want to give her some lip seal, try at least to give some lip seal and to move the anterior teeth backwards and move the molars forward as well, okay? And here the sequence of arch wire, promoting alignment and leveling. And in the upper arch, we have a curve in the upper arch. You can see the curve is passing throughout the premolar braces and achieve the cervical part of the incisors. And here you can see when we try the short class 2 elastics, the short class 2 elastic move down along with the arch wire move down along with the short class 2 elastics and must to be in the incisors slots level, okay? The same with the long class 2 elastics, we work with the same way. And this is very important. Take a look at the movement. The arch wire must be moved without any problem. It's we have lots of slides here, okay? We have to test this. Because we are working with a very light class 2 elastics, we have to have lots of freedom in the anterior teeth. If you put a light class 2 elastics, and you have lots of accurate anterior teeth, no way of working, okay? So, promoting the anterior teeth retraction, and here you can see retracted. Let's compare. You are going to see comparing from February to April. You can see the anterior teeth very uprighted now. Comparing the biprotrusion being solved, very short time. The second molar erupted in a very bad position, so we have to make to use a round tube here after promoting alignment and leveling. Okay, let me put this faster. Here we are talking about finishing. Take a look at the molar tube. If we want, because this curve that we put in the upper arch wire makes the molar position this way, okay? So at the end of treatment, I have to move and change the molar tube position to achieve the embracement in the posterior teeth. Take a look at the molar tube. You can see much more distal cuspid than the mesial cuspids. And we have to wear shorts, elastics to upright the second molar. It's very difficult. For me, it's more difficult finishing treatment with posterior teeth in a good position than the anterior teeth. If you want to see if the orthodontist is a good orthodontist, take a look at the posterior teeth. If the posterior teeth are very good embracement, so you have to say this guy is good. It's very difficult to achieve this position. Sometimes the time is bigger to finish the posterior part than to solve the anterior problem. Anyway, we finished this way. Here comparing before and after, the biprotrusion solved it. So in this clinical case, we've moved the molar forward and the anterior teeth backwards, both at the same time. We did not achieve the lip seal. Is better, but we did not achieve. The chin is a little bit better. The lips are almost touching. And both sides she was forcing. This is natural, okay? This is forcing the position. So if we compare here and put, let's take a look closer. The chin, move it a little bit. Let's change. Put the final in the front. Take a look at the lip. This is the anterior teeth correction of the teeth. And here, she's smiling. This girl is from Argentina, came to Brazil. Okay. 5 minutes more. Here, I would like to show you, it is written in Portuguese, but SSW technique is not class 2, only class 2, because I did not have enough time to talk about class 3, but we solve very difficult and very strong class 2. Here we make in 2 steps, 1 step without extraction. In the second step, we've made extraction. This guy is a guy that has a syndrome, okay? It's very difficult to solve. Take a look at this overjet. Class 3, we can solve class 3 as well. Just wearing class 2 elastics is some Nakajima appliance just to avoid the tongue, move the lower incisors forward. And here, finishing the treatment. And a very severe grounding, very severe. This girl, we have very severe grounding posterior teeth and anterior teeth. We have to extract first molars. Take a look at the first molar. I extract the first molar to permit the second molar eruption. Take a look at the tube that where we put the molar tube. Here, finishing these spaces, and after 4 molars, we extract more 4 premolars, and at the end, the 3rd molar was in a bad position with eruption. We had to upright the 3rd molars, and here uprighting the molars and 3rd molars, and here we have before and after. It looks like we extract only 4 premolars, okay? So very difficult case as well. Open bite, this open bite, we wear short class 2 elastics at the front because it was a woman, a very old woman. It's about 60 years old, and there was no upper incisors exposure. So without an upper incisor exposure, we wear elastics in the front. On the other hand, this kind of class, the class 2 malocclusion with open bite, the girl has a very good upper incisor exposure. We have to intrude the posterior teeth. So we use IZC, mini implants, and buccal shelf, moving the molars, intruding the molars, and the bite closed by itself. And very strong here, very strong overbite. We extracted 2nd molar. The 2nd molar wasn't good. We extract 2nd molars. We've made here the classical SSW way of working with bumper R sleeve here, achieving torques. And okay, just to show you that our technique is able to work with different kinds of malocclusion. And I would like to thank once more for you. We have now on the dot. Okay, thank you very much indeed. If you need something, you can talk with us in my website. Okay, and so I'm open to the question. Okay.
Dr. Rodrigues.
Okay. Let's talk.
Hi, Dr. Rodrigues.
Hi.
Hi, it's Troy.
Talk, Troy.
Hi. Could you go back to the slide that had Dr. Nanda's article, the paper that you showed at the beginning?
Yes.
There was some interest from perfect. I'm going to find that article and I'm going to send it around as a link. There were a lot of doctors online that wanted to read the full article.
Okay. Let's now. Okay. I think it's going to be interesting. Interrupt my here. It's better this way.
Great. Well, that we're good. Since this was the 3rd series, most of the attendees were party to the earlier webinar, so we don't have any outstanding questions. Of course, everyone on the online will receive a link to the recording and the CE quiz and questionnaire. You'll receive that tomorrow. If you have any questions, you know how to contact myself or Dr. Rodrigues. Anything related to the simplified straight wire technique, we're happy to answer. So I would just like to take this time once again to thank Dr. Rodrigues for these 3 fantastic webinars over the last few months, and hope you all have a wonderful day.
You too. Thank you very much indeed for everybody to join us one more time, okay?
Yeah.
Say hi, Drew and Sandy.
Yes, sir. All right, be well.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Namaste.